How are y'all doing? All right. So the question, do you remember a really important leadership moment when you were very prepared and then you fumbled? Not because you weren't qualified, not because you didn't care, but in that moment, something shifted. Your ability to think clearly, communicate effectively, and your ability to lead just got hijacked. It's as if some random person leaped into your body and just blurted out the first thing that came to mind, and you're like, holy smokes. I wish I could reel those words back in. And unfortunately, you can't. Definitely not a great leadership look. In moments where leadership matters most, sometimes we react rather than lead. Not because we lack intelligence, but under pressure, we lose access to it. So I've used the word leadership, and some of you might be saying, well, I'm not a leader. Every one of us are leaders. Leaders in the community, leaders of our families, leaders at work. So regardless of what leadership roles you play, we all have an opportunity to lead with greater awareness and intention. So my rhetorical question is, who was the first leader that influenced you? Mine was my dad. He was an inexperienced, very young father who ruled the house and everybody in it with a lack of emotional intelligence. Now, I share this story with a lot of compassion for my dad and a lot of parents out there that are doing the best they can, right? So as I think back on my childhood, I was a curious little kid, red hair, freckles, big brown eyes, and boy, I'd be so excited when my dad would be coming home from a long day's work. And unfortunately, his interaction with me when he got home was often sharp, fast, and unfiltered. And I kind of began to expect that and accept it as normalcy. His reactions kept me on high alert. I think I tiptoed around him most of my childhood. He had a quick fuse, and I learned to brace, like really brace for emotional impact. Now, I see some heads shaking, and some of you might be able to relate to that story. But this is what I can tell you. I know today that my dad was doing the absolute best that he could, and I was learning how to survive. A pattern that I carried into adulthood. Reaction was my pattern, and fast was my default speed. Definitely not the leadership brand I was looking for, and I knew that I didn't want to live or lead that way. So I started to do a lot of research, some therapy, actually a lot of therapy, and I was trying to change these default patterns. And I got introduced to yoga. I'm still doing yoga, mindfulness, and meditation, and all of these practices have really helped me. They've helped me find calm in the chaos, and they've really helped me learn how to pause. And that has literally changed the trajectory of my life. So let's examine a little bit what happens when we default, we get triggered, we blurt out the first thing that comes to our minds, we make bad decisions. There's knee-jerk decisions, right? Under pressure, our brain shifts, and our ability to process and communicate sometimes become very difficult. The amygdala, this part of the brain that's the alarm system, hits a panic button, and it kind of sounds like this: danger, danger, warning, warning. You know it, you've probably felt it in a split second. Heart rate elevates, breath shallows, stomach tightens. You want to fight, flight, or freeze. You're not rising to the level of your experience, but rather falling to your inability to self-regulate. And I bet every single solitary person in this room knows the importance of self-regulation, right? We know it works, so why don't we do it? It's not a knowledge gap, it's an access gap and an underdeveloped skill. And the solution can be found in pausing, So next time you get triggered and you want to kick somebody or get the hell out of the room, or you get really scared and you shut down and don't want to say another word, that's your body signaling that your higher order thinking has gone offline. In that moment, pausing to breathe is your answer. In less than 60 to 90 seconds, you can bring your brain back online just by pausing. It's that tiny space where thought and emotion are processed so that your response is not a reaction, but rather an intentional choice. We live in a crazy world, a very unpredictable world. And we know we cannot control the uncontrollables. But what we can do is take greater ownership of our own behavior. So I encourage you to practice the pause. So I'm going to shift gears on you, and I'm going to talk about another type of pause. A pause that we can use before the panic buttons hit. The pause that high-performing teams and leaders use, especially when stakes are high. In operating rooms around the world, before a surgeon makes the first incision, the entire team pauses to align, to verify, and to clarify. And that one pause has reduced complications and deaths by over 30%. In the military, life and death situations, when everything's on the line, they're taught to pause and breathe, not to stop, but to get clarity when the stakes are high. First responders, paramedics, firemen, policemen, they don't rush blindly into chaos. They pause, they assess, and then they act. Even football has a baked-in pause, and it's called timeout, right? So every single one of those scenarios, the pause is integrated into the process to improve outcomes, and in some cases, save lives. Save lives. So my question is, if we know that activating the pause, especially under pressure, works, then why don't we use it? This is the good news, is we can develop the skill. Pausing doesn't cost any money, doesn't take a lot of energy, and we know it works. We know it works. And in a world that celebrates speed, stresses around every corner, we could certainly use a little bit more pause. So as leaders, all of us, where and when can we use a pause in our lives? At work, right? Dinner table conversations, business meetings, boardrooms. Anytime conversations are tough, virtually every single human interaction, especially when clarity's low, emotions are high, and the stakes are real. So you might not be a fireman, you might not be a surgeon, you might not be an officer in the Army, but this is what you are. You're the CEO of your own life. And the most powerful move that you can make, especially under stress, is not what you say next. It's whether you hold that space to pause before you do. Great leaders have learned to master that skill. They know how to use it, when to use it, how to use it. And as a result, they not only lead with greater intention, they live with greater intention. And I invite you to do the same. Will you? Take a deep breath. No, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. You have to pause to take a deep breath. That's what I'm inviting you to do. Are you ready? Exhale. We're all on the same page now. Ready? Now the real one. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Hold your breath. Keep holding it. Let it go. That's the space I'm talking about. There is power in the pause.